Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm glad you're here. So, you're probably wondering, Javon, out of all the knives that you have acquired over the years, most of which have passed through my hands and been paid forward to somebody else, what has been the brand that has most represented space in your knife case? And without doubt, that goes to Kizer Knives. I have been a Kizer knife guy since I first started collecting knives. I would say the Kizer, I'm trying to think of the first Kizer that was in my collection. This is one of my first premium, quote unquote, Kizers. The Genie here, which is a small knife in carbon fiber, S35 VN. Top flipper, back before top flippers were cool. Also had a great little blade deployment hole. I've had this little slim gentleman's folder for several years, and it's one that stayed in my collection. I've given away, gosh, I don't even want to count how many Kizers, but I have a whole case. I still call it affectionately my Kizer case, even though I've most recently had and gifted the Veritas, the Phoenix by Matisfaction, the Mercury. I think I picked that one up too. The little, I think that's the name of it, the little gold colored one that was just a super unique knife. But what I wanted to do is, most of those knives that I collected, I've passed on. They've been given away. They're all reviews on my channel if you want to look at them. But I wanted to go through the Kizers that have stayed in my collection, and I wanted to talk about kind of Kizer, my thoughts on Kizer, and where Kizer was then, which was selling both the budget type line that I would buy, and I can't think of the name of that, begins with a V, what they called the G10 line, and also their titanium S35 VN line. And I had a lot of both. I mean, I was a huge fan, and still am, of Kizer and what they do. But this little Genie, I think you can still find this knife on Amazon, and it is a great little knife. I will check, and if it's still available, I'll leave a link for it. But this little guy is in carbon fiber, has a nice back spacer, really nice pocket clip. Again, a gentleman's folder, by no means a hard use knife. But if you're needing to cut stuff, open packages, cut sandwiches, the little Genie is a great knife. So moving on, we come to one of those more premium older series by Matthew Christensen. I've had several John Gray inspired design knives collaborations. I had the T1 in titanium. Gosh, several others that I can think of. But this is one that I haven't been able to turn loose of. This is the OG Critical. You guys have seen the Critical in my Carta that's come out. You've seen the Mini Critical. This is where it all started. This is the Critical that Matthew designed in collaboration with Kizer. I want to say it was part of their Blade series, but I think I'm getting that series wrong. The titanium and S35 VN. But this knife is super sharp, super heavy. It's a hefty knife. Even though you've got weight relief in your scales here. Thumb stud that work very well. Nice frame lock. Just showed me back in the day, this knife is over 3 years old, steel lock bar insert, how much Kizer had to offer in terms of range of product, from the value knives that were filling out my case to some of these nicer knives that I was able to pick up from time to time. And I really enjoyed them. This one, the Critical, Matthew Christensen design, Wicked Warncliffe, has stayed in the collection. I'm a huge fan. And guys, this is a bigger knife. I know we're not reviewing all these knives, but just so you know, this guy clocks in at 8 3/4 inches with a 4-inch blade and a 3.5-inch cutting area. Just a banger. Love this knife, Kizer Critical. Then I took a little departure and I picked up this guy. You guys might have seen this when it came back out in my Carta, but this is the Zip Slip, their slip joint, in that titanium, what I think is the Blade series, but I could be wrong, and S35 VN. This knife has got some of the best ergonomics for a slip joint. It is a little bit thicker grind, nice little swedge on the point here. Vagnino is the, I guess, designer of this. You notice right there on the spine, you've got Vagnino. I always joke around and middle finger flick it because you can't. It's a spring. You've got that solid back spring, but it's a slip joint. So your half stop is right there. And it's a light open. So you've got about a 3, 4, 3, 3. Nice slip joint. I can almost one finger roll it. And then again, where my choil, my finger sits, as long as I keep my finger back behind that blade, that really steadies the fact that it gives me a better cutting grip for a non-locking knife. So this is the OG titanium S35 VN series. I used to call it the Blade series. Great clip. The Zip Slip. Then moving on, we've got one of my favorites, and it's an unspoken hero that I used to carry all the time to the office. This is a great gentleman's folder. The Kizer Clutch is a titanium frame with carbon fiber inserts. Beautiful S35 VN blade. You've got this maker's mark here. Let me see if I can get my magnifying glass because it's got a name on there. And I can't read it. Let's see. I know it's the Kizer Clutch, but it looks like something design. Super little knife with a either concealed frame lock or recessed frame lock, if you want to call it. You got your frame lock running behind the scale. You got a flipper action that you can either light switch very, very well, or you can push button it. Nice sheep's footy blade, super slicey knife, nice size knife. Again, I'll get you a quick measurement of it. Comes in right under 8 inches, call it right over 7 3/4 with a right under 3.5 inch blade. But again, in terms of gentleman's folder, this knife has stayed in my collection for that exact reason. I love it. It's a great knife. It's been a super one in my collection, and I hope to keep it in the collection. So this is the Kizer Clutch. So we move on to one that is a one of a kind, one of one. I actually won this in a giveaway. I've had, trying to think, I had the Bacon micarta. I had a titanium. I'm trying to think how many of these Octobers I've had. So when I got this one, it was kind of special, only because this knife has come through my hands so many times, and I think it's a great design. It's a collaboration between Kaiser and Doc. I forget exactly who that designer is, D-O-C-K. But this is a prototype where they played around with a kind of an orange peel finish that is just fantastic. It's got this blue anodized pivot with a red pivot collar. Middle finger flick on this S35 VN blade is banging. You've got a tall, flat ground blade. You've got a finger flipper that works great. So if you're not a middle finger flick guy, if you like that traditional flipper, the October does a great job. Frame lock. This one is a prototype, so it'll definitely stay in my collection. And again, I won it from Jared. It's got sentimental value to me, but a great knife. Again, I've had several of these in the collection that I've gifted forward, and I think the October is a fantastic knife. Had a bunch of sheepdogs. Sheepdog used to be one of my favorite bigger Kizers until this little guy came along, because I think it gives you the same sliceability with a nice design, tall, slicey grind, as the sheepdog did. And this is just a very, very cool knife. I'm a big fan. Kizer October, still available in traditional titanium, I think. I'll link it if we can find it. But let's move on and look at some of the more what I call modern day Kizers. And these are all Kizers, with the exception of the last one that we'll look at. These first few were sent to me by Kizer. All the others I bought. Most of the knives in my collection I've purchased as a collector, as somebody who likes knives. This one, however, was sent to me by Kizer to check out, and this is the Drop Bear, a knife that I was very late to the game on. This one comes with aluminum handles. I think it clocks in right around $100. This particular variation, it can come in lower, it can come in higher because they make it in a lot of different variations because it is a very good knife. I'm not a huge fan of the bar style lock. Kizer calls it the clutch lock, and they do it very, very well in terms of bearing or ball bearing action, very snappy with an adjustable spring. So I can adjust the tension on this axis spring, or I forget the little S spring, the 5 little holes. So I can make it tighter, as I'll show you when we get to another knife where you can see through it. But it's just a very well done locking mechanism, super strong lockup. You've got a 154 cm blade. It's an Azo design, very basic knife, about the exact same size as a Benchmade bug out. Matter of fact, I have a bug out right here. A little bit shorter, but it comes in right about 7 1/8 inches. So this guy, again, right around $100, $118, I think, in the aluminum, but you can get it for well under $100. It comes in a lot of different handle variations, but this is the Kizer Drop Bear. Any of these guys are still in my collection for a reason. I've not had many Kizers, or really any that I can think of, that I wasn't a fan of. I just wasn't carrying a lot of them, is why I passed them on as I kind of went through my knife hike and continued on. But this guy is fantastic. And I had the full size as well. Kizer sent it out for me to check out when they did their January drops. And I already gifted it away on a Friday Night Flicks, the Momo, but this is the Mini Momo. The Mini Momo is 154 cm. It is kind of like a folding kukri, for lack of a better terms, but it's got an extremely ergonomical handle. It's got an extremely slicey blade. For me, it's the perfect size. That's why it stayed in the collection. I carry this knife. I really enjoy it. It's just a tiny bit longer than the bug out. It's going to clock in right at a little over 7 1/4. Very basic, simplistic, clean style, designed by an architect. I want to say his first name's Igor, but don't quote me on that. I'll put a link to the Amazon listing of this, and try to put a link to Kizer's website as well. But this is the Mini Momo. It's one of their newer designs. But again, you've got this recessed liner lock, nice micarta scale, weight relief on the show side. I think it's aluminum bolster here. And this is the budget version. So this one's going to come in, I say budget, under $100, right around 79 to 83 bucks. Moving on, we have the Mini Mystic. The Mini Mystic uses these little axis springs, and they're not called axis springs. I forget what the dang thing's called, but it hooks in around your bar here, and then it comes down and it locks in one of these 5 holes. The general tension is usually set back here on the back. The closer up you push it, you're putting more tension on that spring, and what it does is it gives you more snap and more snap shut. This has got an internal stop pin, which does a very good job. This one happens to be a Lexan or a clear plastic, where you can kind of see the stop pin going around the pivot. You can see that spring, you can see that bar lock travel. And it's got a nice aluminum handle that's kind of a pearlized metallic. It's got this really nice Harpoon blade. This particular one's in Nitro V. It's going to come in that same size range. This is another collaboration. The designer is on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it enough to throw it out. But it's going to come in the same size as the bug out. Give it about that 7 1/4 range. I want to say it's Munko Designs. So this is a collaboration between Munko Knives and Kizer. It is the Mini Mystic. And guys, comes in several different variations. This is probably my favorite, but there's several other that are really cool. There's a purple one out there that I'm crazy about. It's got a great sharpening choil, Nitro V, great grip. I think it's just a fantastic knife, very thin, perfectly centered. You've got a nice little aluminum backspacer with a lanyard tube. Just a great knife. Can't say anything bad about it. So finally, we come to probably one of my favorites and my biggest surprises. And I did buy this after a viewer sent me the D2 version to check out, and we ended up giving that away on a Friday Night Flicks, which was the first full-size Harpoon. This, however, is the mini Harpoon in 3V. So I know this knife is thin. I know it's not to be pried with. I'm sure I could snap the tip off. Has a little bit of toughness, but it is a great EDC knife. I carry it, took off the Kizer clip, which was fine, but I put an Ulti clip in it so I can carry it kind of deep in my pocket. It rides to about right here. This one has a PEI or Ultim handle. I think it's actually PEI, but they are removable if you want to oil that up. You've got the treated blades. This is a collaboration between Maverick Blade Works and Kizer Knives. And guys, it is pokey, stabby. It is super slicey, and it's a little guy. So it's going to come in even smaller than that bug out. So I'm guessing it's going to come in probably around 7 inches. But guys, I wanted to put together a video that didn't talk about this knife, didn't talk about that knife, but where have I put most of my money? What have I invested in? What have I enjoyed carrying? Where it has given me the most knife pleasure over the years? And again, my pleasure's changed. What makes me happy with knives has changed. But Kizer's always delivered for me. They've recently come out. I've seen a couple of reviews, but I haven't had the opportunity to check one out of a kind of a luxury line or a premium line, even above what Kizer offers in their premium stuff. I've seen a couple of reviews, looks very interesting, and I love to see what they're doing. I think they've always provided, at least me, a very great experience. Really cool knives that I've gravitated to for one reason or another. A lot of times, I don't know why that is. Like what drew me, for example, to this Zip Slip. I think Dark Gravity bought this when he was with me one day, and I had a chance to buy it many years later, and I could not pass it up. See if I can get all these in here. I'm not going to be able to. And then you got the sweet little Genie and a clutch. Guys, that's the most, and these is just a very small few. I've given away 10 times this many, but my videos are all going to be under the Kizer playlist. Some of them might not be tagged, but if you search for Kizer under my name, you'll see a ton of just great knives that I've come through the years that I picked up and that I've thought are great. And I think every one of these are fantastic, and I don't see getting rid of any of these. These are probably going to be keepers for me, but guys, thank you for watching. If you're so inclined and you hadn't had the chance yet, please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon. Thank you again to every one of my channel members. And do me a favor, everybody, look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart and choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.